Hello, I'm Jose, and this is the Cinematic Dogma podcast. I'm joined as every week by my old favorite co-host, Blake.
Thank you, Jose. I'm glad to be here. I'm excited for part 2 of our special entry into the podcast series.
Yeah, this is our second part for the look back that we're doing of 2024. And on this episode, we're going to be talking about movies that they were not released in 2024.
Necessarily, they could be.
Oh, they could be. So you actually have like a spin on this.
None of my films came out in 2024, so let's just skip that. Just our favorite things that we watched in 2024.
Okay. What I did is actually I deliberately look for things that they were not released, but we watched it on 2024.
Great.
Maybe for the first time, maybe not for the first time, but things that I watched last year that I really like, and just separating it from the, hey, this is new and keep.
All right.
Yeah, and as the previous episode, if you folks haven't listened to it, is we're each of us like selected 5 of them, and we're going to be like taking turns and calling out if there is overlap in any of those movies.
All right. So I think I started last episode, so why don't you throw a couple out?
No, I started the first one, the previous one.
All right, I'll throw a couple out. I'm going to start the list strong with one of my favorite directors, Paul Thomas Anderson. We were... Jose's making a face. But this is not a joke. We actually rewatched in 2024 a lot of what I would call my favorite films of the last 20, 25 years, which really influenced this list. We rewatched the P.T. Anderson film Boogie Nights from 1999, 97, late 90s.
Yeah.
And I forgot how good that film is. It's really, really good.
So it's also on my list.
Boogie Nights?
Boogie Nights is on my list.
What are the odds?
I mean, I was like pretty surprised when I was writing it. I was like, dude, am I writing down a PTA film in my list of the best of the stuff that I watched? But it's freaking good.
I forgot how good that movie. And I have this bias because Magnolia is basically the same film as Boogie Nights, just a little bit watered down. Just in terms of the casting, the art, like how big the stories are. It's but Boogie Nights, I was like, oh yeah. I don't know if it came out at Sundance, but if that film was released at Sundance, it would be like, this guy's going far. It would be like a Steven Soderbergh sort of film, a Quentin Tarantino film. It's like, yeah, this guy has something to say. It turns out he didn't have a lot to say later, but if you were just to judge him on Boogie Nights, you would be like, this guy, I'm going to watch this guy.
Yeah, and it's funny because there is so many movies of a super wide cast, like a super large cast, that all of them, they have like smaller stories. But I think that this may be like one of the best ones. That is that you care about all of those stories. It's true that it is like a main one, but you care for all of those characters, about like what happens over time.
Roller Girl, William H. Macy, the actress that you hate that I love, Julianne Moore. Like just each of these storylines are like heartbreaking and interesting, and yeah, good for him.
Yep. Yeah, and we're talking about like the earnest, and I feel like somehow like here the same thing about like, I care about all of these characters is that when they become assholes for a brief moment, is that I'm still cheering for them for being better, like going to a better pace, and it's also pretty impressive that he pulled out like that script that is like 2 hours and a half, and it's super, super engaging, like from the first scene to the last one. I couldn't like stare at my phone or anything. Is that I have only watched this movie once, and I remember it like, oh, this was good. But now that I rewatch it, it's like, oh, this is really, really good.
It's hard to figure out how to describe the film. Like, I want to say tight, but it's not tightly edited or directed. It's just like every moment matters, and it's so well balanced that there's no fat to trim. But like every moment on screen is a moment with characters that you probably care about, which is it's an impressive feat for any filmmaker, let alone someone who wrote the script and directed it so well.
Yep. Fully agree. So, do you think that this movie could have been released this year and have the same impact? Let's remember that it's
Absolutely
about the
not.
70s. Yeah, it's about like 70s, 80s porn industry.
I think we're a little too woke right now to have an honest conversation about sex workers and the pornography industry and drug addiction and child abuse and this. Like, you could explore some of these themes, but this is too out there, I think, for mainstream cinema, which I think
Yep.
this was, right? This had a wide release. I think it opened on Christmas Day. Like, this was a big deal. It would not be a big deal today.
That's interesting. I agree. I think that this was like is the type of movies that I love. That is like this was released on the perfect moment, and we're already over that moment. Is that we were never going to be like back to that stage where you could actually like release something like this without people from both sides complaining about it. So perfect release, great. Let's just keep it there, but no, it's never going to be coming back.
It's interesting. I'm on the IMDb page, and it says the tagline of the film is, in 1977, sex was safe, pleasure was a business, and business was booming. I never really took into account, they don't take into account any sort of STDs. Like, it was pre-AIDS crisis in the 80s. That's interesting. I'll have to rewatch it at some point and think how that changes how I perceive the irresponsible sex they have nonstop.
Oh, yes. All right, should I pick the next one?
Please.
Yeah. So, my next one is Weekend.
Weekend, the gay film.
Weekend.
Okay.
That's the reason what I found like so hilarious that you misunderstood me on the previous episode when I said Wicked. So, no, Weekend. This is a movie that I was like for the first time like 15 years ago, like pretty a bit after it was like released with like my partner at the time, and we're like just pretty like, oh, this is a really good movie, like really surprised about it. And at that point I already had like the same feeling that you had about gay centric films, that is like, do I have to like it because I'm gay even if they're bad? And Weekend was like a bit of an eye-opener experience of oh no, this is like super heartfelt, and it feels like super realistic from the perspective of how emotions can bloom in the gay world, in this kind of super intense manner, but then you have to come back to reality about like you have a life and you are like just in a blip of your existence and just being responsible about your actions.
I completely agree. I think this is a good film, not good for a gay film, which is unfortunately is a metric we have to look at constantly because gay filmmakers tend to fill in the blank. Not only is it a good film in terms of direction, script, acting, but I do think it really captures the lifestyle of gay men, where you do have these anonymous hookups, you can catch feelings, and it can be a very intense romance for 48 hours, and then you never see it. Like, maybe straight people have those experiences. I haven't because I'm gay, but like this, I was like you're holding up a mirror to me, and it makes me uncomfortable.
I found it sweet, I found it like, I can feel identified about it, but it's like you're treating it in a way that is so heartfelt, so authentic, so like the director here, is like Andrew Hai, is that you definitely went through this, so you definitely know about this world. Is that you are like writing probably from a first-hand perspective, that we have all gone through this.
And again, I know I'm a broken record, but you can see how this teed Andrew Hai up to 45 years. And you can see that it doesn't matter that he's telling a gay story. He has the ability to tell a small story in the context of big emotions. And like he has a niche here.
So where did he put all of those skills when he did All of Us Strangers?
I like to pretend that didn't exist. So...
But no, for me, it's like this is a movie that is going to remain in the back of my head when someone talks about like, okay, cinema, blah blah. It's like Wicked. Wicked is a great movie, and if you don't understand it, it's your problem. But it's like this is
mine.
100% authentic is that this is not like the
Objectively,
artistic.
this is a great film. Objectively.
Objectively, it's a great film, and it actually tells a story. This 100% gay reality. This is not about like gay people dying of AIDS. This is not about gay people being discriminated. This is not about gay cowboys with amazing photography. It's like this is a great story.
Yep, agreed.
So yeah, I love it. And yeah, I think that this could have been released again and having like the same emotional impact. I think that it's still like our gay reality. I haven't been single for a while, but it's like, I'm pretty sure that it's still like the same kind of dude. It's like with all of these new apps that there are now, is like pretty sure that all of these like, hey, it's going to be anonymous sex, but it can turn into something more. Their story is still as applicable as it was 15 years ago.
Yeah, I agree. The story is still as relevant, and the film would have the same reception. People would be like, "This is good." Yep.
Yeah. Cool. So, give me one more.
So we're going back to the world of Yorgos Lanthimos, which was on. He was on the list of my part one of this film, best films or favorite films that came out in 2024. But you and I rewatched The Killing of a Sacred Deer, and in my mind, when I saw this in theaters, I remember thinking, good film, a little boring, kind of minor Lanthimos. That sounds so pretentious, but not as important as some of his other stuff. When we rewatched it, I was like, not only is this crazy compelling, it's super entertaining. It's a really good film. It's weird as fuck. I was just blown away that I was like, no, this is a great film. I don't know why I felt like it was boring before, because it's not boring in the slightest.
Yep. It almost feels like a bit of a mixture of Yorgos' usual cinema with Haneke torturing the audience.
That's probably why I like it so much. It was like, hey, these are like angry European white guys that are going to treat me like shit for 2 hours. That feels good to me. And they do it really well.
Yeah. I really like it. And this was a movie that I avoided for a very long time because it was not really pan, but people exactly like, they presented as a bit of, it's a minor one. Is the he already did The Lobster. I think that it was between The Lobster and The Favorite.
Yes, because I was on a high from The Lobster, so I think I was expecting more of the same.
Yeah. But I think that when you analyze it a bit more like detached from the order of the movies and the expectations that you have from waiting for 2 years for this, it's a good movie. I had a good time watching it too. So do you think that The Killing of a Sacred Deer could be released this year and have the same emotional impact?
You mean people would just kind of shrug their shoulders and no one would see it? Yes, it would have the exact same reaction in theaters today. I mean, I don't think people appreciated this correctly. I don't think people would appreciate it correctly if it came out tomorrow. It's just there's not a huge place for it in American cinema. Yes, it would have the same impact today.
Gotcha. Cool. Should I pick one more?
Please.
Myself? Yeah. So the next one that I have is like, I'm sorry, I have to pick up like an Spanish movie on each one of my lists, but the next one is The Executioner.
I saw that one on your list this morning when I cheated.
But no, I really like it. It's the Berlanga film from the 60s. Or is it like 63? Yeah, it's like a dark 63. Comedy. Yeah, I don't know if you remember the story, but I still find pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Like he basically like got into this line of job like because he wants to date the daughter of the executioner.
And he gets away without doing an execution for a certain amount of time.
Yeah, until at the end is that they put him and he just like, I can't do this. But one thing that I was reflecting now that we have been like, that we were in Spain recently, we traveled a bit around and we went to Tenerife, is there's reflecting, sorry, spoiler alert, about that last scene when they're like going back into the boat, and you see like another yacht, like a yacht like next to it that is like completely detached from reality, like this group of cool people like just dancing, and it's like, oh, you have like this executioner that is going back
doing
home.
The dirty work, yeah.
Doing the dirty work, and you have like this other reality of Spain or tourists or whatever.
You're not going to make me feel bad for going to Tenerife, are you?
I'm not going to do it. But I don't know. I just feel like there are so many layers to this dark comedy about like the reality of Spain, like how he got away with putting a story like that out there that is
during
a critique
regime,
during
right?
the censorship,
Interesting.
during the dictatorship of Franco. That is it's super bold and he's super smart. And Berlanga, he was a master of doing this. Is that most of his movies they have like another layer of okay, but I can read it in this other way, and then it doesn't paint it into such a positive light, So this one like had like these small like blips that they come like from time to time. That is not only about like a costume-based comedy, like down comedy, is like way much more than meets the eye.
I agree. And now that we're talking about this, I'm remembering a lot of things from that film, like their rushed wedding where they like sneak into the church, and how it's you understand much more obviously about Spanish history, but it's about the haves and the have-nots and who's
and the pretend that you have it. So
good pick. I'm impressed.
Yeah. And this is a movie that even my parents watched back in the day when it was released, and he said, oh yeah, it was like pretty hard to watch. And he said, yeah, because you were living on that time. But it's like now is that you watch it under a complete different light. If it could be released right now, no. Of course, no, because there is no such a role. And I had the feeling that people, I'm going to say this, but I had the feeling that screenwriters are not that smart nowadays for just doing like these several layers of hey, I have to respect this censorship, but also at the same time I'm giving you like this under the table critique of things.
Yeah, I can't imagine there's some committee of writers at Netflix that's churning out the next season of the Santa Clarita Diet that they're like, how can we make this interesting?
So yeah, this layering is lost, unfortunately. So, and I think that most people that are going to be watching this movie nowadays, I'm not saying this like a bad thing, is that but they're not going to be like appreciating it in that way. So,
well, I mean, it was 70 years ago, 60 years ago. So
yeah,
it's a different world. Literally, Spain is a different place. The world is a different place. Interesting.
Yep.
Good pick.
Yeah, you only have like more people on that yacht. And that's just like next to the poor ones partying.
All right. I don't like to think about the world as it is, so I'm going to go into the imaginary world of being John Malkovich. Now, I prefaced this at the beginning of the podcast. We allowed ourselves to watch a lot of our favorite films of all time in 2024. I don't think that's that common in our friendship. But, like, there's no way after rewatching Being John Malkovich, like, come on. One of the best films of the last, 30 years. It's so good. It's so wildly inventive. You laugh super hard. I forgot how much I like, what is her name? The guy that John Cusack, or the woman John Cusack is interested in. I love that actress so much. Just everything about
Catherine
this
Keener.
Yes, it's so imaginative and inventive, and the obsession with puppets and Cameron Diaz.
Yep. It's a miracle.
It's a miracle of a film. I cannot believe I forgot how good it is. So,
yeah, I think that all of the there are only like two, but the Spike Jonze, Charles Kaufman movies, every single time that I rewatch them, I like them even more. So this adaptation is like, I watch it again, I say, holy shit, this is even better. Is that you pull this out with Nicolas Cage, this is the same thing like with John Cusack and Cameron Diaz, that is like, I have zero expectations for those two actors, and it's like, this is amazing.
And we did rewatch Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind in 2024, and it was tough. Like, because I was only going to pick one of them, but I always remembered how much I liked Eternal Sunshine. I had forgotten how much I liked Being John Malkovich, so that's why it's on my list this year. For last year.
That's cool. Yeah. Do you think that this could have been released, Being John Malkovich, this year and having the same impact?
I do. I think there's always a market opportunity for Spike Jonze and Charlie Kaufman. Like, there's nothing that would make it out of date or not fit in with today's. I mean, it's about heartbreak, right? And longing, and I don't know. But yes, it would have the exact same impact if it were released today, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. So should I pick one more?
Yes.
So my next one is Tangerine. I rewatched it by myself. We didn't record about it, but I think that I was writing you about it when I was watching it with my boyfriend.
Yes, you were.
Yeah, and that was like the introduction for me to Sean Baker. I think that we even went like to the cinema to watch it. And
Me and you
initially
together?
I was like, no, I didn't go
okay.
with you. I went with someone else. And I think that when I went to watch it, initially I was like a bit reluctant about like, this is like a gimmicky movie because it was recorded on an iPhone, you know. But then when I saw that it's like, hey, this was done like probably with $20 budget. Well, 20 not, but it's like, like $1,000, $2,000 budget. And the actors, the script, everything is like super crazy, but also like gives you like this kind of underbelly, but at the same time, sweet story of LA with this crazy transgender woman in the center of it that I felt is like, oh, I don't know if this guy is going to have a staying power, Sean Baker, but this was a trip. This was like a complete like roller coaster trip of emotions, like from the beginning to the end, that I was like super entertained watching.
I had the exact same experience. I didn't want to go see it because of the whole gimmick of an iPhone. Like, it was filmed on an iPhone. When I saw it, I was like, oh my God, this is a really good movie. You're not that familiar with Tony Scott, right? The guy who did, it's Ridley Scott's brother. He did that gay Tom Cruise movie everyone loves.
Oh, Philadelphia? No.
About the volleyball people in the Air Force.
Oh, Top Gun. Yeah,
Top
that's
Gun.
a good way of putting it. Yeah.
But he also did Man on Fire, which was hyper frenetic. Do you remember? And then he did the show called Domino, the movie called Domino about Keira Knightley, who's a bounty hunter, and it's all just super frenetic and all these effects. When I saw Tangerine...
Do you know which one he did that we actually recorded about?
What?
The Hunger.
The Hunger.
Long time ago, like the vampires in London.
Oh, that was Tony Scott?
Yeah, with Catherine Deneuve and David Bowie. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So when I saw Tangerine, I thought, this is not a gimmick film. It's really good. He lucked out on these actors who are incredible, but there's a limit to how long someone can keep our attention with this hyper frenetic style. Nope. Turns out he can do whatever he wants. He's just super talented. It's crazy.
Yep. And I don't know if you remember in Tangerine, the taxi driver that is in Fall with Tangerine.
I haven't seen it since it was in theaters, so I don't remember that well.
But I like that he actually stayed working with Sean Baker because he is like the boss of the mob that is trying to find the kid in Anora. Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, I really like it. I'm surprised every time that I rewatch it. It's like, no, this is human feelings. I would
happily rewatch that film.
Yeah. If it will be released this year, I think so. I don't know how it would be received because it was not like a world phenomenon. It was a bit more like, hey, some circles like talk about it. It won some awards. I don't know if Sundance or whatever, but it's like it was not like everywhere.
I don't want to get into identity politics, but I feel like when Tangerine came out, the world was much more open to trans stories, trans issues, and now it's kind of swinging back the other way where people are, I'm not saying this is my opinion, but people are like, we're tired of hearing about trans people, which is horrible. I don't think that it would be as not that it was crazy widely accepted, but I don't think it would have the same splash today, unfortunately, as it did back then.
Yep. Yeah. Good man. So what is your next pick?
So my next pick, and this would be my pick in any year that I watch this film, Eyes Wide Shut. I rewatched it twice in 2024. That movie, I will never not be blown away by it. And I'm not going to go on and on because I could forever, but to me, that's about as perfect as a film gets.
But I think that you didn't score it with a 10.
Sure, but right, there's recency and there's relativism, right? Like, what did I watch before and after? But when I rewatch that film, it's just like, no, this is a magic little piece of film history, and I will always rewatch this film. Always.
Yep, agree. I was surprised about it. It was like the similar thing as we were discussing with The Killing of a Sacred Deer, that for a very long time I didn't watch it because the critique that it received at the beginning, it was pretty bad. But when you told me, like, no, this is good, and we watched it and recorded it, I was like, dude, this is one of his best movies. Is that this like in the echelon of, okay, this is what Kubrick could do.
He died even before that film came out. Did you know that? Like, how could you end your life better than releasing Eyes Wide Shut?
It almost feels like the creator of Rent. That I think that he died before the opening nights. So
that's really
he never knew if it was going to be good or not, if it was going to be like properly
how
received
it would
or
be
not.
received.
Yeah. One thing I think that we discussed about Eyes Wide Shut recently when we were talking about Christmas movies. So is Eyes Wide Shut a Christmas movie or not?
I would argue yes, in the same way that A Christmas Tale is a Christmas film to me.
Okay.
It feels creepy and dysfunctional, and that's how Christmas felt to me.
Yeah. And Christmas also ends the same way as the movie for you. It's like, well, now we're going back home and we're going to fuck.
Yep.
Do you think that Eyes Wide Shut could have been released this year with the same emotional impact?
I would argue yes. Even despite its kind of sexual proclivities and kind of this not eat the rich, but this fascination with the super wealthy, it all makes sense, but Kubrick transcends kind of these like individual issues. If Kubrick were to come out today, everybody would just be like, we'll watch it and we'll accept it and it's great. That's how Eyes Wide Shut would be received today.
That's fair. So should I go with my last one?
I'm dying to hear it.
I'm sorry, I think that we haven't overlap on this list much. I was a bit surprised about it. I was expecting like this one to be the overlapping one, you know. And we're not going to overlap with this one, don't worry.
Okay.
So just like randomly one day, like checking like the list of Criterion movies, I always saw like the cover of this one and was like, I don't know about this, if it's going to be good or not. And then I hear it like mentioned like multiple times in Reddit and in some of these Criterion closet pick, and it's like, this is not going to be that good. My last pick is actually Tampopo. It's a Japanese movie about, and I think that, let me just check the year because I completely forgot to prepare that part. It's 1985. Yeah, 85. And it's a crazy comedy Western elements to it, but it's not a Western. So basically it's the story of this truck driver that one day stumbles into a ramen shop that is like a small ramen shop only with regulars. And he basically tells the owner, this poor young woman that is like just inherit like this business from his family, is a tells her like, your ramen fucking sucks. So then it's like the story about like how he befriends like the owner and like the regulars that at the beginning they trying to punch the crap out of him, how they turn around like this shop as a collective project into the best ramen shop that they could create. So it's a super heartfelt story. It feels like super endearing, super earnest. Like the characters, they feel a bit like a Western stereotypes, you know, about like, oh, this is the bad guy that it comes like to the village for the first time, but then they start like becoming like friends with the bandits, and the bandits becomes like good people. So it's a story that we don't see anymore. About like, we turned the day around, similar to what I was telling you about like Frank Capra. That always had the feeling that it's like, hey, it's about like feeling good at the end. It's about like you do like this character development because you want to sell the idea of we are inherently good people, and when we actually like work together, is like there is a good force behind us.
Interesting. I remember when you rewatched this, we had a discussion about it. I've never seen it, but the way you talk about the film makes me very curious. I am not the biggest fan of like we can overcome through teamwork films, but you love Ted Lasso, so like I get how.
No. I won't accept this. I never recommended you.
You're right. I'm joking. But I'm curious to watch it now. Yeah. Good description.
Yeah. I recommended it to you. It's a feel good movie, but it's a really good feel good. Is that there is like something like charming about it. They have like some vignettes of random things that they happen on the side that it makes it feel like so sweet and so like, okay, this group of misfits, they turn something around, and maybe Western is not the right word, maybe more like a samurai movie, because it had like similar elements to also like the westerns. So honestly,
I hope
it's
this isn't a spoiler, but I'm on the IMDb or the Wikipedia page, and it's just like, hey, here are some list of minor scenes. The one that stands out is a man and his lover explore erotic ways to use food. The man is ultimately shot several times by an unknown assailant, to his lover's horror, though he is satisfied at the end of his life and hopes to see it play out like a film.
but there is like some random vignettes in there that is also like it gives you like some kind of, I don't know, like window to the crazy society that Japan also is. But honestly, I finished watching it. I was like, I'm not sure about what I watched, but I freaking love it. I honestly think that this is like way much more than what like the 2 sentence description at the beginning, and it's like you are in for a trip along the way.
Well, I will commit to you, Jose, in 2025 that before the end of this year, I will watch Tampopo.
Thank you. I was mind blown a moment ago that I was like searching for it on Google, and there used to be a restaurant around the corner. It's permanently closed, unfortunately, but it was called Tampopo. So I found like around the United States like 4 or 5 different ones that they are called that, and I was like, oh, that's super sweet.
So, well, what a pity it went out of business.
No, unfortunately. If this could have been again released this year, I have like the same emotional impact. I'm going to say, unfortunately, no.
Oh, really?
I had the feeling, yes, because I had the feeling that feel-good movies, like this kind of, and we feel good, they feel cheap. They tend to feel like cheaper than what actually this movie is trying to do. This movie feels earnest. It feels like heartfelt. It feels like from a different time. It feels like when you see like movies about America, it feels like Frank Capra. And I had the feeling that there is not a place anymore for this kind of this is like well intended. This is good. This is like just about making you feel good, seeing people that they are trying to be good with each other. Is that there is no longer that place. And all of the craziness of the vignettes.
This is not a comparison at all. But the way you describe Tampopo, would you describe a film like About a Boy? Where there's not really a conflict. It's just people becoming better people and working together. And
I don't think that I ever watched About a Boy.
Okay. Did you see Millions? The Danny Boyle film about the change from the British pound to the euro.
Oh, no, but I watched Slumdog Millionaire.
Is there a film that you could, the way you describe Tampopo about, it's feel good, but it's not cheesy like a Hallmark film. Can you think of a movie in the last 10 years that's come out like that?
Right now, I can't.
Okay. Well, think about it.
I can.
Text me later.
Okay. So what was your last movie?
I feel like you're not going to like this one, but I don't care. I am choosing as my final film, My Dinner with Andre.
Sorry, I said movies. So something has to happen in that.
No, My Dinner with Andre is a film that I avoided for a long time, and I know that a big portion of it is because I have a really negative idea of Wallace Shawn. I don't think it's related to his skill. I think that I hated his character so much in Princess Bride, which I saw 7,000 times as a child, that I can't watch anything with him in it. So I avoided this. But I know you didn't like the film, but this was originally a play. We love dialogue-heavy films. Nothing happens in this film besides almost nothing, besides two friends have a long conversation that's based on real people in the real world. And Jose has raised his hand, so I'll call on Jose.
I raised my hand. I'm raising like physically. I was about to raise like physically, but I only raised it digitally. My Dinner with Andre was not a theater play.
Well, when Andre approached Wallace and said, hey, let's do something. They had this idea and they're like, let's turn it into a play. So it was supposed to be a play. And then they're like, hey, this is a film.
Okay.
No? Am I misremembering? Tell me.
No. I mean, what I was reading is that... let me just see. No, you're right.
Say it again. I'd love to hear that phrase.
You're partially correct. It was started as a theater play, but it was never produced as a theater play.
Yeah, but it came about like, hey, what can we put on a stage and do? That would be interesting. And then I love the intellectual circle jerk of really smart people talking about things that honestly probably end up just be navel gazing and have no relevance to the vast majority of the world, but it sounds interesting and beautiful. And I could have watched another hour of this film, and I'm super happy that I finally watched it. You had us watch it, right? Or was it my...
Yeah, I had us watch it.
Okay, so I'm super grateful you had me watch it. I love this film. I love it, and I can't believe it took me this long to watch it.
Well, I'm super happy that you enjoyed it, that one of us enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Do you think that this could be removed in 2025 and have the same impact?
I don't know that it would become the classic that it's become. I think there's a space for this sort of, let's call it experimental, just because it's not like an action film, like a Marvel film. But if you were to go to Telluride Film Festival or Toronto or Sundance or even the San Francisco International Film Festival, there will be films like this, and there's a space for them. I don't think it would become the classic it is today if it were released today.
Okay, so no?
No.
Okay, that's fair. And I think that this was 5.
Yep, that was it.
Each. Yeah, it was a good year for rewatching stuff. Maybe next year we'll prepare a bit better and just keep a list.
Yeah, this year, I think in 2025, we're going to keep lists of everything we watched so we don't have the recency bias. And I don't remember what I watched last February. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that we may remember that we watched a movie, but we may not remember anything about it.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why in our normal podcast, we ask each other, will you remember this? Probably not. Nope.
Probably not. No. To everyone out there, thank you so much for putting it with us. Happy New Year. Probably this will go out in January, I hope.
And join us next time, where we're back to our regularly programmed broadcast.
Okay. Bye.